These testimonials are representative of my or our experiences, but the exact results and experience will be unique and individual to each person. The information provided herein is not medical advice and is not intended to substitute for the advice of your personal physician or other healthcare providers.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Leanne Hayden, your host of the Beautiful Bag Podcast. And in this solo episode, we're going to be talking about traveling with an ostomy, all the things you need to know. I just finished a travel last week, and I've got some stories to share with that, but also a lot of tips and tricks. But before we get started, I want to make sure that wherever you are listening to this podcast from, if you could hit that subscribe button, it would mean the world to me. That way you are notified when each week something comes out, right? When there's a new episode coming out. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you're in the know, okay? So this week we're going to be talking about traveling with an ostomy. Let's start with getting prepared, right? What do we do? And you guys probably have some more information on what you do as well, and I would love to hear that. But what do we do in order to prepare for our travel, right? And again, it depends. It depends. Are you driving to where your location is, or are you flying to where your location is, right? So it's plane, trains, and automobiles, right? So what is it? So if you're driving, it makes it a lot easier because then you can pack multiples of everything, right? You want to always make sure that you have your bags, enough bags for for your trip, right? I personally always pack extra. I always pack extra because you never know when you're going to have an emergency. So packing enough bags themselves, packing extra flanges, having your scissors, and we're going to talk about scissors too in a minute, having your scissors for your to be able to cut your flanges if you don't have a pre-cut flange, all right? So that you want to have your adhesive remover spray if you use that. You want to have any belts that you use. You want to have some stoma powder if you have it. So all the supplies that you use on a daily basis, you want to make sure that you pack and you pack enough just in case. So I've got some stories for you. So when I went on a trip, so I went to Honduras. I flew to Honduras. I went on a mission trip last year, and typically I'm able to pack my scissors. Right, they're surgical scissors. The blade is small, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see my hands. Right, the blade is small. You don't. It's not sharp. It's rounded, pointed. Right, and typically they will let you have that in a carry-on bag. If not, make sure you pack it in your check-in bag. However, I came home. I was coming home from Honduras back here to the United States, and the Honduran security took my scissors, right? So they took the scissors away, and I don't have pre-cut flanges. So it's made me kind of say, okay, I need to figure out what that code is and get those pre-cut flanges. However, they took those scissors away, so I didn't have anything to cut. So what I have been doing instead is pre-cutting my flanges themselves. So I open up the packs, I pre-cut the holes. So I have, depends on how many days I'm going, 5, 10, 3, whatever the amount that I know I'm going to need, because typically I personally change my flange every 3 days. So I'll bring enough of those every 3-day changes. And then I always bring a couple of extra just in case, just in case. And so I ended up going in and pre-cutting my flange and then putting it in a Ziploc bag and then tucking that away. So another thing that another tip that I have for you, some things that I have done is I always I don't put everything in one case. Um, that's me personally. I have supplies in my carry-on bag. I have supplies in a check-in bag if I'm checking into somewhere. I have supplies in my purse. I have supplies in my little purse that goes in my big purse. So I have supplies everywhere, at least a flange or two, or a few bags, and a few of our little doggy bags, I call them, right? Dog poop bags. So to dispose the disposable bags, right? To dispose your bags in. So I pack all of that, right? So I keep it separately. Now, here's a little tip that I did not know. You can, and I got this a beautiful kit from April Wilson. If you guys do not follow her, you want to follow her. Her name is April Wilson, that girl with a bag. She does custom ostomy covers, but on top of that, she also has a bag that says all my ostomy shit. right? And it's a great bag. It's a great travel bag, has a hook, everything. You can put all your supplies in. So there's a little plug for her. However, you can actually have that bag. So one thing that I have learned, that I did learn from Ostomate in the city, again, if you don't follow her, you want to make sure you do that. What I learned from her is when we travel, because we're in an ostomy, we can have an extra piece of luggage, not a big piece of luggage, but you can carry your supplies separately. So you can have your carry-on, you can have your purse, right? Your two things that you're allowed onto the plane. You can have your check bags, but you're also allowed a third piece of a third bag, okay? And that is one thing that she taught me. And if you guys don't know, if you go to the UOAA website, United Ostomy Association of America website. On that website, you have a travel certificate that states that you're in an ostomy. Okay, it's a legitimate certification, little card, it's your travel card, and you can use that in case you have any issues. Okay, so there's that. So that I wanted to make sure that you knew that that was out there as well. And again, if you're listening, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And again, if you're watching this on a video, make sure you turn around and write a comment below. Let me know some of the tips and things that you do in your ostomy when you're traveling, okay? How do you pack? How do you prepare? Because we're all so different, and all of these, it can help, we can only help each other out, right? So make sure you want to pack enough supplies. Another thing is I don't take my adhesive remover spray with me. I take wipes. So I get both. So I have the spray that I use at home, or if I'm driving, I take the spray with me. But if I'm on a plane, I just take some of the wipes, right? And just pack them in. They're smaller, they're easier to handle. So I have that too. So the other thing is, let's say you're traveling and it's airport security. I don't know about you, but when I first started traveling and getting on a plane, I guess I just didn't know enough, right? So I was never really concerned about security or anything like that. It just wasn't in me. But I have spoken to a ton of ostomates who, that is a fear of theirs, right? Flying, going through security. What if we get patted down? What if somebody sees your stoma? All of those things. So here's some things. Going through security, you can, like I said, have your card so you can make sure that they know that you're in there. Now, last trip, I have a couple stories. The last trip that I took last week, when I was going through airport security, one of the airport securities, I happened to have been flagged as just one of those special people that gets to get a pat down, right? Just extra security, right? So it just happened to be I happen to be that one person. Now, I have never truly had an issue going through security with anything, ever. And I fly a ton. And if you guys know me, you know I'm traveling all over the world, and I'm always on a plane, and I'm always on the go. So I got flagged for this. So I had to go through that security. Now I have TSA pre-check here in the US, and I have clear. So they have to just scan my eyes and I can go, right? So this time I had to get in the machine, put my hands up, you know that, like hold yourself, stand in those two spots. The machine goes zoop, zoop. And I came out and it showed a little square where my ostomy was. Now, the woman said to me, I told her, I said, that is my colostomy bag. I have a colostomy bag. And she said, okay. Her manager told her, don't touch it. Wipe her hands, right, with that little pad thing that they have, and have her touch it. And then we'll put that in the machine. Okay. So that was one thing that that you should know. Just say, this is my colostomy bag. I would prefer if you don't touch it. They will swipe your hand. You just touch. They didn't lift up my shirt. They didn't have to look at anything. They didn't have none of that, guys. None of that. None of that. They just patted. Oh, I patted with my own hand over my shirt, right where my ostomy is. They scanned that little pad that they had, and it was good to go. Okay. So that is something that happened to me years ago. Years ago. When I was first traveling, I went through security and I was on the other side getting my stuff. And I was standing next to this older woman, and all of a sudden I heard her anguish, and she's like, don't touch him there. Don't touch. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And then I turned around and looked, of course, right? Because she's drawing attention to it. So I turned around and looked, and her husband had been with security. They had his shirt up, they had his bag out, they were patting his bag with their own hands. You don't need to do that. I helped the woman. I said, I'm in a bag too. Now, mind you, I didn't know things that I know now, right? So I said to her, I'm in a bag too. That seemed to calm her down. She goes, have that ever happened to you? I said, no, not yet, but I'm sure it will. So just know, all you need to do is let them know if you do have to be patted down, let them know what it is, and then they can swipe your hand and you can touch it yourself. Okay. So there's a big tip for you. And that's getting through airport security. Once you're in the airport, guys, go sit down, have a good meal, get ready for that flight. All right. Now, next, I have gone to Europe. I go to California, I've gone north, I've gone south, I go everywhere. I am traveling all the time, like you guys know. Handling time zones and your routine changes. That's something that we need to be aware of. We need to be aware of that because when we're in different time zones, our bodies, as you know, our bodies get used to processing our stool, right? It's almost like sometimes if you're in a colostomy bag, you end up having a little more of a timing per se, like you can train your colon, right? You can train your colon. Other times you don't, right? Some people can train the colon, some people can't. Again, we're all so unique and different. It's so important, right? So when we're in a different time zone, our bodies need to adjust to that time zone. So depending upon it, your stool may go more at home when you're during the day, right? And not so much at night. Well, if you're in a completely different time zone, right, where you should be sleeping and you're up and that, your body's still not used to that. So you will have a higher output sometimes when in the middle of the night, right? Until your body gets accustomed to its new time zone. Okay. Things like that, we need to just be aware of. It might not happen, but it may happen. As long as you're in the know, that's all I'm trying to do today, right? So you're going to have those routine disruptions. And guys, one of the biggest things when traveling, let me just tell you, one of the biggest things in traveling is making sure you're hydrated. Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you're drinking your water, right? When you're taking a 2-hour flight, make sure you drink an entire bottle of water. Okay. If your flight's longer than that, double up on it. Make sure you're hydrated because flying dehydrates us. It dehydrates us. And I want to make sure that you guys don't ever have a problem with a blockage while you're away or anything else. So make sure that you're hydrating yourself. That's just a little extra. Okay. So there is that. Now, you also want to find ostomy friendly accommodations. And now, what does that even mean, right? Most of the time, we're fine. When we get into our hotel rooms, we're fine. We've got to do what we've got to do. I have had some leaks happen when I'm in a hotel and I wrap up the sheets and I put them in a corner, leave a little extra tip, right? Make sure that they're all wrapped up and tied up so they're not touching anything, right? Leave a little extra tip. Um, we throw away our bags, to clean up all that stuff. But do know this, when we're traveling, you are allowed, if you need some extra room, to use the disability bathroom. You need extra room to put your supplies out if you need to change yourself, okay? This is this is a disability. I don't ever say that about myself because I don't know why, I just don't. However, do know that you can use that bathroom. I mean, regular traditional people do, right? So we can too. So you can use that if you need to spread yourself out if there's an emergency, or you need to spread yourself out and change a bag and do all that other fun stuff. Okay. Now, these are some other tips and things and stories that I have learned again over the years. Over the years, I shared my scissors stories with you. I shared being stopped and having to be patted down, going through security, and this is all airport stuff. I have traveled on trains and have not had an issue. I have traveled on cars, just have to pull over and find a bathroom if I need to. I've shared stories prior to this of me trying to push down my poo in my bag and the whole thing popped off. Told you that story. If you have not listened to that episode, you definitely want to. It was my mother and I on our way to New York. All of those things can happen while we're traveling. So we just need to know this. The other thing too that I just thought of, is when we're on airplanes, right? That when we're high up in the air, right? When we're at a higher altitude and then we're coming down and we're up and down. I have had times where on a plane, I have had a little more output than not. All right. And I think it has to do with the altitude. and your body just saying, okay, here we go. And it's coming out more. So I have had that happen to me as well. So I had in the past, I used to irrigate and walk around with a cover, had a few too many leaks, and it took too much time. We'll have a whole podcast on that on that at some point. But um I've worn bags, and sometimes I wear the mini. I wear a two pouch, and I wear the brand Hollister, as you guys know. I wear a two pouch mini, so it's about 7 inches long. Sometimes I have to wear a 9 inch. Never really, but sometimes I say, you know what, I want that extra security, because it might be a longer flight, right? Or it might be a longer trip, or I might not find a bathroom or a restroom where I need to be. So sometimes I'll just wear a little bit longer, very rarely, because I always seem to be able to get away with the 7 inch. So know that too, because that altitude will kind of change sometimes. It's not all the time, it's only sometimes my output. It can change my output. So I want to make sure that you guys are aware of that as well. So again, if you found this valuable, please share it out with everybody. If you're watching on YouTube or watching on Spotify, please, or you're seeing clips of this on other social medias, please leave a message in the comments. Let me know some travel tips, some things, some of I can't even talk. Some of the stories that you have that you might want to share, or some of the tips that you think other ostomates need to know when it comes to traveling. And guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the follow button, leave a rating and a review. As always, I appreciate you all. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll talk soon.